This incident happened in 2022. I was at work, and as I'm a cleaner, I cleaned at a primary school with one other cleaner. We would both have our own designated areas to clean. My area consisted of the administration building, the library, and 8 classrooms, including the early years classrooms. The other cleaner's area consisted of the 2 middle school buildings and the hall. We would work every afternoon for 4 hours, 3:30 p.m. till 7:30 p.m, Monday to Friday. Usually, each shift was pretty cruisy, unless it had been raining on and off on the day. The kids sometimes would play outside on the wet grass while it wasn't raining and tread grass and mud back inside onto the carpet. That would get really annoying. I would rather the kids be inside, making inside mess. It would make things a lot easier for us cleaners, but it was up to the teachers what they would get the kids to do on the day. Some days there would be sports on of an afternoon, so there would be parents and children going in and out of the hall or onto the oval. Also, there was after-school care for the kids that had parents that worked. So the parents would come pick their kids up from after-school care once they had finished work. We called this OSH, although OSH would only be running until 6 p.m, and usually sports would be finished at 6:30 p.m. at the very latest. On this day, there was no sports on, but there was after-school care, or OSH as we called it. So there wasn't that many people around, and also because it was on a Friday, the teachers had all gone home. On a Friday, they didn't like to stick around. Even the principal and the rest of the admin staff would leave as soon as they could as well. This made things even easier for us cleaners when the staff weren't there hanging around and still doing stuff in the classrooms or offices tried not to get in our way. So it was about 5 p.m. and I had just finished all of my classrooms and I was heading over to the admin building to start cleaning inside when I noticed a guy sitting on the bench outside of the hall. I had never seen him before and there was no sports on, so what exactly was he doing sitting there? As I entered the admin building, the guy waved at me. I waved back thinking nothing of it because I had a lot of work to do. But before I started admin, I would like to make myself a coffee in the kitchen. The staff had told me I'm welcome to anything in the kitchen, so it was coffee time, and as I was in the kitchen, I looked out the window and the guy was still sitting there. He couldn't see me, but I could see him. I figured I'd not worry too much about him, and I took a sip of my coffee and went back to cleaning. It was now 6 p.m, and the OSH staff had now left, and I was just finishing off admin. I walked back into the kitchen and looked out the window. The guy was gone. I then figured it was probably a parent of one of the kids in OSH, or someone else just passing through. But after 6 p.m, no one except us cleaners were allowed on site, or of course security. The other cleaner had called me and informed me that there was a guy walking backwards and forwards out the back of the school, outside one of his buildings. I then knew the guy hadn't left. We both thought it was strange because it was starting to get dark and it was about 6:20 p.m. now. I told him if he got any more concerned to call back or call security. I was now in the library at this point, and it was pitch black outside, apart from the small lights on the outside of the buildings. I looked out the window of one of the offices just off from the library. I could now just see the figure of the man walking across the quadrangle as it was dark. The other cleaner called me again and told me the guy was walking over in my direction. I told him that I had already spotted him. He was actually walking towards the admin building. I wasn't sure what the guy was up to, but he just kept wandering around like he was waiting for someone or waiting for something. I was now watching him walk around the admin, looking through each entry door into the building. I mean, he couldn't get in without a fob key, which us cleaners and staff had. He would literally have to smash the glass in order to break in. Then I seen him pulling on one of the door handles. I now knew he was looking at trying to get into the building. Then he walked over to the building where I was and started looking through the doors. He knew I was in there because he could hear my vacuum running and the lights were on. I was still in the librarian's office, so he couldn't see me. There was a storage room in off the office, so I quickly ducked inside and closed the door. I called security and told them what was going on, and rang the other cleaner back and told him not to leave his building and to keep all his doors locked, as the guy was trying to break in over in my building. 5 minutes later, security pulls up into the car park. He gets out and starts walking around. This made me feel relieved when I seen him. The guy was still at the other end of the building, so he hadn't seen the security guard yet. But as he started walking around the building, the guy and the security guard seen each other and they both started running. Next thing, neither of them were to be seen for the next 10 minutes. As I ventured back into the admin building, the security guard comes walking up the street, out the front of the school. I walked to the front door and let him in. He came in and told me that he had chased the guy out of the school grounds, but he ran down a laneway and he had lost him. He thought he may have jumped over a fence into someone's backyard, but he informed me that he would stick around until after us cleaners were done and we were leaving to go home. It was coming close to the end of our shift and I called the other cleaner and told him it was all clear to come over to admin when he was done. 7:30 p.m. came and all three of us were getting ready to walk out. Before leaving though, one of us cleaners would arm up the insides of the whole school to alert security or police of intruders. Once that was done, we walked out, got in our cars and left. We never encountered the man again. What his complete intentions were that night, to us, were still unknown. The only thing I could think of was that he wanted to break into one of the buildings.